So good morning to all. So today we will discuss our next topic, that is what are the basic problems in the field of plant tissue culture. We know that plant tissue culture is a technique in which we have grown the plants in the laboratory condition. We have grown so many amount of plants in a short period of time. We can grow the plants irrespective of their climate. No doubt, this technology has been proven a boon in the field of plant biotechnology, but still, there are many different problems in the field of plant tissue culture. So, what are these problems? That is recalcitrant, contamination, phenolic browning, seasonal variation, vitrification, and somoclonal variation. Recalcitrance, contamination, phenolic browning, seasonal variation, and vitrification, and somoclonal variation. So these are major six problems which are normally observed in the process of plant tissue culture. We will describe each and every problem in detail. Okay. So first we will talk about recalcitrance. What do we mean by the recalcitrance? See, recalcitrance refers to the inability of plant tissue culture to respond to the culture manipulation, means loss of morphogenetic competence and totipotency capacity. I mean to say that sometime what happens whenever we prepare the media and we transfer the explant in the media. So we observe that explants do not respond against the media because of certain reasons. Might be it is having some Anderson problem, some germination problem. It do not have morphologic competence. There is a proper lack of division of cells, lack of totipotency. Okay, so recalcitrance we can say it's a kind of plant sterility. Means we can say that the plant are not able to respond in the culture medium. Why? Because of loss of morphogenetic competence and totipotency capacity. So recalcitrance refers to the inability of plant tissue culture to respond to culture manipulation. And the loss of morphogenetic competence and totipotency capacity is one of the most important feature of recalcitrance. However, free radicals have an important role in the metabolism and development of aerobic organisms. Sometimes what happens whenever we transfer the explant in the media, there are a lot of contamination in the media. That contamination might be of bacteria and fungi. So the basic reason behind the contamination of that bacteria or fungi, basically it occurs due to some presence of free radicals. Okay, it occurs due to why? Due to the presence of some free radicals. So these free radicals have an important role in the metabolism and development of aerobic organisms, right? So this is a major problem in the field of plant tissue culture. Next problem, this free radical mediated stress has a major role in the tissue culture recalcitrance. We have observed that sometimes in vitro plant cultures have shown that this tissue culture sometimes produce free radicals which can damage the antioxidant capacity. They form inhibited free radical scavenging activity. They generate certain lipid peroxide, certain toxic phenolic compounds, aldehyde lipid peroxidation products. So what will happen? Their enzymatic activity will be inhibited. Okay, so what will happen? Their enzymatic activity will be inhibited. Okay, so these are the major problems that these free radicals can interfere in the further metabolism and development of the endosperm in the tissue culture based plants. However, antioxidant protection is compromised oxidative stress, which ensures that free radicals and their reaction products react with macromolecules. Okay, this antioxidant protection is compromised, and oxidative stress ensures and free radicals and their reaction products. They react with macromolecules like DNA, protein, RNA, and enzymes. So, what they will cause? This antioxidant will inhibit the activity of biomolecules. So, as a result, what will happen? They will cause cellular dysfunction, and as a result, the culture become recalcitrant. So, this antioxidant generation, we can say that the free radical regeneration is one of the greatest problem in the field of this recalcitrant of the tissue culture based plants. So what we have to do, sometimes we add vitamin C in the medium. We all know that vitamin C is called as ascorbic acid. It is having very good antioxidant activity. So it will inhibit this formation of free radical compounds like lipid peroxides, toxic aldehydes. So as a result, what will happen? There is a proper functioning of the macromolecules like DNA, protein and enzymes. So as a result, there will be normal endosperm germination, normal plant germination in the tissue culture media. So we can overcome this problem with the use of certain antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E. Okay, so they will help to inhibit the toxic effects of free radicals. Then all aerobic organisms are totally dependent upon the redox reactions. Okay, these organisms basically have some metabolism and they are dependent upon the redox reaction and the transfer of single electrons, and many life process involves free radical intermediates. Okay, so all or aerobic organisms are totally dependent upon redox reactions and the transfer of single electrons, and they may life process which involve free radical intermediates. So these free radicals and their reaction products have an important role in the plant stress. It is suggested by Henry and Crawford in 1994. Okay, so these free radicals and their reaction products have an important role in plant stress. So what will happen? As a result, they will cause senescence. Okay, as a result, they will cause what? They will cause senescence. So it is very, very important to inhibit the role of these free radicals, because all kind of reactions are basically based on electrobiochemical reactions. So if their redox reactions will be improper, so there is no proper, we can say that transfer of electrons. Okay, so we can say that there is no proper transfer of electrons, and many life process involve these free radical intermediates. So this recalcitrant point is directly too much dependent upon the free radicals, and they have important part in initiating the plant stress and senescence. Senescence, we can say that it is the physiological death of plants. Okay, so how to overcome this problem? First of all, juvenile tissue can be selected as the explant. Okay, juvenile tissue can be selected as the explant. Then, the parts of the desired plant rejuvenated by treatments like cytokinine, spray on selected branches. Okay, spray of cytokinine also helps to remove the free radicals. It helps to overcome this problem. So, wherever we are finding the problem that that part is not able to germinate, what we have to do? Can spray or we can treat that plant with the help of cytokinine on selected branches like meristem tissue, vacuoles, apical bud, ovary, ovule. So these are the two major things that how we can overcome the effect of recalcitrant. Juvenile tissue is very important to be selected because it is having the important property of meristematic tissue, and they are having the activated cell division. When there is activated cell division, proper differentiation will be there. Proper differentiation will be there. Proper germination of endosperm will be there. Proper ovule will form, ovary will form, plant will germinate, rooting will be done, shooting will be done. If we take the old tissue, what will happen? That old tissue do not have any kind of metabolism. Okay, that old tissue do not have any kind of metabolism because they don't have any actively cell division part. So what we have to do? We have to take the dead part, which is very juvenile, and secondly, we have to do the spray with the cytokinine, which are having the important part in the selected branches. Then second problem is of contamination. That is the one of the most important and drastic problem in the field of tissue culture. Contamination is having the major problem in the field of tissue culture, that is creating wasting lot of energy, lot of time. Okay, so first of all we will discuss about what are this contamination. See, there are many living organisms that are responsible for this contamination, and that living organisms are bacteria, fungi, molds, yeast. They are the common contaminating microbes in the tissue culture. However, in plants, they occur as microflora associated with roots. Okay, however, in plants, they occur as microflora associated with roots. That is rhizosphere and rhizoplane. Okay, that is rhizosphere and rhizoplane levels. So rhizosphere and rhizoplane levels are also called as phyllosphere and phylloplane levels. Basically, root is the main part of the plant. All the minerals, water, uh, nitrogen fixing bacteria, all they have action basically on the roots. So they are the backbone. They are the base for the development of the plant. When plants they occur as microflora associated with roots, mainly rhizosphere, rhizoplane, they are also called as phyllosphere, phylloplane, and other plant parts, and subliminally as endophytes. Sometimes we cannot see these microbes growing outside the culture. They are built inside the vacuoles, inside the explant, inside the meristem. So they are called as endophyte microbes, which grow inside the cell, and they are also found in the vegetative propagules. So to overcome this problem, contamination, what scientists are doing, we have to take care of almost condition. Hands should be wiped, use of disinfectant should be there, proper use of laminar airflow, proper heating, proper autoclaving, proper sterilization condition will be there. Okay, so contamination in tissue culture can originate from two sources. Okay, so this contamination in tissue culture can be originate from two sources, either through the carry of microbes on the surface of the tissue or the explants, or through improper faulty procedures in the laboratory. Sometimes when we go to the field, when we take the explant, we do not wash the explant. So what will happen? The microbes still remain attached on the surface of the explant. When you will inoculate that explant in the medium, what will happen? The growth of microbes is conformation. It will cause the contamination. Secondly, we do not follow the proper protocols in the lab. What, like hands should be sterilized, proper use of disinfectants like HgCl2, sodium hypochlorite, sterilization of media should be proper. Okay, laminar airflow should be treated with UV light before proceeding for the experiment. Okay, all equipment should be autoclaved, media should be autoclaved, external should be treated using TPOL, disinfectants, autoclave water, hands should be clear, mouth should be covered, gloves should be wear. Okay, so all things should be properly done. But many of the microbes that are likely to be present inside the tissue, intracellular in plant tissue, they are very much capable of growth on the plant tissue culture medium. Although we can inhibit these endophytes by the increasing the high salt or sucrose concentration and the pH level. Basically, the pH we are maintaining is about 5.8. But in spite if we found that we cannot control these microbes, so what we have to do? We will manage the salt concentration, we will deviate the sucrose concentration, and we will adjust the concentration of the pH. So using these protocols, we can, I want to say that we can basically inhibit the chance of contamination up to much level. Okay, so we have to follow proper sterilization process, we have to follow proper laboratory process. So by this method, we can control the contamination. So as I told you how we can overcome this problem of contamination, wear gloves which are properly sterilized, lab coat should be wear, and keep long hair tied back, because if we are doing the work, if hair comes in between, there are a lot of microbes which are always present on our hair that can enter into the media. So we have to wear proper gloves, proper lab coat, keep long hair. We have to work in laminar flow hood when passing cells. And before laminar working, we should on the UV light for 20 minutes. Then we will off the UV light on the normal light so that microbes cannot be germinate. We will wipe down the working surface with ethanol because microbes are killed with the help of alcohol. All equipment should be sterilized, media should be sterilized, next plant should be properly sterilized. So these are the 4 to 5 measures which we have to follow in controlling the process of contamination. Okay. Then, so we have to stay as organized as possible, remove the shoes, label everything, what kind of media combination we are using, and all setups, your material should be wiped, cleaned, autoclaved before starting the experiment. We have to carefully examine all the equipments and media for visible contamination before use. We have to completely remove the lid from the tube, plate or bottle, set it down within the hood with the open surface facing up. Otherwise, keep tubes, plates or bottles closed as much as possible, because if you will open, like we have to use a cotton plug in the test tubes, all our media or lids should be closed, because when you will remove the lid, the microbes present in the atmosphere will enter into the medium. Okay, whenever we remove the lid from the tube, plate or bottle, the microbes present in the environment can enter into the media and thus they can create the contamination. Okay, so what we will do, we have to must completely remove the lid from the tube, plate or bottle and set it down within the hood with the open surface. Otherwise, we will keep tubes, plates or bottle closed as much as we can do. Then we do not have to pass our hands, arms over any open bottle, plate or tube. Why? If we touch our hands with the open bottle, all our microbes will be adhered to the surface of our hand. And from there it can enter into the media and thus they can cause the contamination. We further, suppose we are preparing the media, we have to use proper antibiotics. Like we can use gentamicin, we can use streptomycin in the culture media, so that there is no chance of contamination of any bacteria, any fungi. We can also use ketoconazole to overcome the effect contamination from fungi. When our experiment is finished, we will dispose all materials properly. Again, we have to wipe down working surfaces with ethanol and turn on UV lamp with laminar flow hood for 10 minutes to sterilize the area. And now all things are ready. We have to follow these measures, like do not touch the hands with the open equipments. We will use proper antibiotics so that we can inhibit the contamination of bacteria or fungi. When finished, we can dispose all materials properly. We can wipe down the working surfaces with ethanol and we can turn on UV lamp within laminar flow hood for 10 minutes to sterilize the area or to sterilize the working surface. Okay, so if we will skip any of this method, our whole experiment will be totally damaged. If we finish any of this method, so every protocol we have to take very carefully before proceeding for the experiments, because tissue culture is very sensitive experiment. Okay, this tissue culture is very sensitive experiment, so we have to follow each and every steps in the detail. Okay, see this media. We have the explant. Explant is grown. Still, it is showing some black color in the media. This black color is due to the accumulation of toxic compounds like phenolic compounds. So, in order to remove these phenolic compounds, we will use ascorbic acid, which is a good source of antioxidant. Okay, see, this is a whole kind of fungal. Once the whole plant is germinated, so just when the plant is germinated, it is totally contaminated by the fungi, black fungi. I think it is aspergillus. So this now we cannot use this explant because it is totally contaminated. So it can totally damage our whole experiment. Just see, this is a very huge contamination of fungi. Okay. Now I told you sometimes what happened. Sometimes there is a browning of the phenolic compounds. Okay, sometimes there is the browning of the phenolic compounds. We know that many plants are rich in many natural products we can call as secondary metabolites, which are having good amount of phenolic compounds because they possess very good bioactivities like anti-cancer, antioxidant, anti-diabetics that are commonly regarded as inhibitory agents. Okay, many plants are naturally rich in polyphenolic compounds that are commonly regarded as inhibitory agents. In most of the cases, when these plants are cultured in vitro, the culture medium turns brown. Okay, in most of the cases, when these plants are cultured in vitro, the culture medium turns brown in color. Okay, many plants are naturally rich in polyphenolic compounds. When these plants are inserted in the medium, the culture medium will becomes brown. So, this phenolic browning, actually it is accumulated by the oxidation of phenolic compounds. So what will happen if there is the appearance of the brown color? So it will damage the enzymatic activity of the plant. So what will happen? There is no proper germination of the plant. So in order to overcome this problem, in order to inhibit the oxidation of phenolic compounds in the medium, see, the phenolic compounds are very good when the plants are growing in naturally condition. But when we are talking of tissue culture, that is in vitro technique, these compounds are little bit harmful. So they will cause browning, and as a result of browning, there is the oxidation of phenolic compounds. And when there is the oxidation of phenolic compounds, there is no germination of plant, its growth will be inhibited. So what we have to do? we have to add certain antioxidants in the medium. Okay, what we have to add? We have to add certain antioxidants in the medium that is more effective to reduce the browning. Which antioxidant? Like we can use ascorbic acid, we can use tocopherol. Okay, so these are the major antioxidants which are used. So this when the media turns brown, it is also called as leaching. Okay, when the media turns brown, it is also called as leaching. So this leaching can be inhibited by the use of certain antioxidants. Like what are these antioxidants? These antioxidants are used basically to inhibit the problem of phenolic compounds. Okay, so they are caused by the accumulation and oxidation of phenolic compounds. So addition of antioxidants to the medium has been more effective to reduce the browning. So the preventive approach to inhibit the activity of one enzyme that is called as phenylalanine ammonia lysis enzyme, that is called as PEL. Therefore, by reducing the biosynthesis of phenolic compounds. So this enzyme is what will happen when this enzyme is activated, that is PEL, that is phenylalanine ammonia lyase enzyme. When this enzyme is activated, what will happen? This enzyme through some synthetic pathway will increase the production of phenolic compounds. So what we have to do? We have to inhibit the activity of this enzyme so that it can reduce the biosynthesis of phenolic compounds in the media. Okay, so what will happen? They can reduce the biosynthesis of phenolic compounds in the media. So PEL is very important enzyme which is mainly responsible for this biosynthesis of phenolic compounds. So when we use antioxidants like ascorbic acid, they will directly affect the activity of this enzyme. They will bound the substrate of this enzyme. They will inactivate this enzyme. So once this enzyme is inactivated, they will reduce the biosynthesis of phenolic compounds. So it is the most of the common preventive approach which we are using. Okay, then again next process, how to overcome these problems. Again, how to overcome the problem of phenolic compounds. Culture bottles are kept in the dark condition. Okay, because when they are kept in light condition, automatically there is certain reduction is there, some chemical reactions are there. So what will happen? These culture bottles are kept in the dark condition. We can also use activated charcoal in the media. This activated charcoal will do what? It will nullify, it will absorb all the phenolic compounds which are present in the media. Okay, so by the process of bleaching, it can absorb all the phenolic compounds. And I told you we can use certain antioxidant like ascorbic acid. The concentration is 0.1 gram in per liter of media. We can also use citric acid, that is 0.15 gram per liter. We can also use polyvinyl pyrrolidine PVP40, that is can also use as the broad spectrum antioxidants. But as per the literature is available, ascorbic acid is the best recommended antioxidant. Okay, among these all antioxidants recommended like citric acid, PVP40, ascorbic acid has been found to the most effective in order to control the phenolic compounds. So what care we have to take culture bottles are kept in the dark condition so that in the light there is no kind of any photooxidation, because when we kept in the light reaction they will cause the photooxidation reaction. Then we will use the activated charcoal in the media. Then we will use antioxidant mixture like ascorbic acid, citric acid. Okay, we will use PVP40 that act as antioxidant. Okay, so these are the main compounds which are used. Now see, there are two types of callus here. One is green callus, one is brown callus. We can clearly see from this picture that in the figure B, there is browning of callus. Why? Due to the accumulation of some phenolic compounds. There is browning of this callus due to the accumulation of the phenolic compounds. So what will happen? Once the phenolic compounds are accumulated, okay, once the phenolic compounds are accumulated, what will happen? They will not allow the further germination of rooting, or they will not allow further organogenesis. Why? Now this browning, as I told you, it is directly related to the activity of PEL, phenyl alanine ammonium lyase. So this, when we use this antioxidant like ascorbic acid, citric acid, or for PEP40, they directly attack on the activity of this enzyme. So when this enzyme is deactivated, our plant material is free of phenolic compounds. You see, this callus is very healthy. It is green in color. It can easily germinate. But this callus will do not germinate. Why? Because it is brown in color due to accumulation of phenolic compounds. Okay. Now see, this is the explant. Many various browning of explant is there. And see the second figure. Whole explant is covered into brown color. The explant, the color, in fact, the green color is changed into the brown color. Why is it so? Because of certain reactions which I told you. Certain formation of free radicals, activation of PAL, formation of lipid peroxidase, right? So once this whole browning is covered, it means our totally explant material is damaged. So it's no use to carry out the further experiments. So what we have to do as a preventive measure, we have to use this antioxidant in a certain concentration so that they can overcome this major problem of phenolic compounds. Normally, this phenolic compound is the major issue in the dicot plants. Okay, this phenolic compounds, it is the major issue in the dicot plants, not only in the case of monocots. So when we use the tissue culture of dicot plants, we have to especially add the ascorbic acid, and especially those plants which are having very hard tissue, like Ananas squamata, Sitafal, we can say that, Moringa oleifera, Sandra. Whenever we are performing the tissue culture of tree, herbs and shrubs can easily be cultured because their tissue is soft. But whenever we are culturing the tissue culture of tree, then this problem normally appears, this problem of phenolic compounds. So in that, whenever we are using the explant of tree, we have to use many antioxidants in the medium, like PEP40, vitamin C, and citric acid. But the concentration should be limited. That is 0.1 gram, zero point 0.1 to 0.2 gram per liter we can use. So that will inhibit the phenolic compound. Now another one of the major problem is the seasonal variation. We know there are 3 seasons in India: summer, winter, and rainy season. No doubt we are saying that the tissue culture is irrespective of the climate, but sometimes it plays some minute role. Okay, so in vitro cultures is also affected, such as relative humidity. When we are performing the tissue culture in the laboratory, we have to control the humidity. The season, dry season also affects, because the condition of the explant, when it is available in the natural condition, so it directly affected by the season. Because in the case of rainy season, there is a chance of contamination. Why? Because most of the microbes are attached on the plant. So whenever we are performing the tissue culture in the laboratory, we say that it is irrespective of the climate. But anyhow, there is little bit effect of such kind of variation in the tissue culture, like first of humidity, dry season. When there is too much amount of dry season, too much amount of summer, what will happen? The media will evaporate rapidly. Okay, the media start vanishing very rapidly. So what will happen? The X plant is not able to absorb on the media. Okay, so the X plant is not able to absorb on the media. Okay, so when there is a dry condition, so there is a evaporation of the nutrient media very rapidly. In extreme moist climate, like poor tropical region, fungi is affected on the media. We know that fungi require maximum amount of moisture. Okay, fungi what require? They require maximum amount of moisture. So in extreme climate, such as poor tropical region, fungi is affected on the media. Okay, fungi is affected on the media. Okay, so next time we have to take, whenever we are performing the tissue culture in the moist climate, we have to use antifungal compounds. That is, for example, like we can use ketoconazole. This is very good antifungal compound. So in every season, there is chance of attachment of different microbes. Dust in the air is also a major source of bacterial contaminants. Suppose we are taking the explant and it is not washed properly, some dust particles are there. When in the air, dust particles are there that can enter into the media. They can also be the source of bacterial contamination. Okay, then small insects that enter the incubation room through undetermined avenues is also affects the culture tube. Insects like some minus aphids, arthropods, some larva condition. Okay, the small insects can also enter the incubation room. Okay, and they also determine the avenues, we do not observe such kind of things. So minute insects can also enter into the laboratory condition. Their larvae can enter into the media through the spores, and definitely they will damage the whole experiment. So what are the seasonal variation? Extremely relative humidity, it should be avoided. Extremely dry season will evaporate the media. In most culture, there is a chance of contamination of fungi, so we will use antifungal compounds. And in the air, there is a lot of dust particle, which is a major source of bacterial contaminants. Okay, then small insects that enter into the incubation room through undetermined avenues. It also affects the culture tube. So these 4 to 5 seasonal variations are there, which can affect our tissue culture experiment. Okay, so these small 4 to 5 things are there, which can I can say that which can affect our tissue culture experiment. Germination of roots and shoot is also delayed due to seasonal variation, because when suppose there is extremely dry climate, what will happen? There is no media, so the explant cannot absorb the media. If it explant is not grown, there is no rooting and shooting. If there is lot of winter season, sometimes what happens, there is actively cell division which do not require. So again that can cause the problem of senescence. So there is germination of shoot and root can also delay due to the seasonal variation in the media. The germination of shoots and root are also delayed due to seasonal variation. Then we discuss about the next problem of vitrification. This is another major factor. Okay. Actually, this vitrification is not basically the normal controllable factor, it is basically physiological factor. So hyperhydricity is a physiological malformation due to excessive hydration. Sometimes we are using the explant, what will happen? It do not have the capacity to control the amount of water evaporation. So what will happen? That is sometimes excessive hydration, which is called as vitrification. There is a decreased amount of lignin, low lignification, and reduced amount of tissues like parenchyma, collenchyma, parenchyma, which can provide the mechanical strength of the tissue. Okay, so in the case of hyperdiapacity, what is happened? There is a loss of excessive water evaporation, excessive loss of lignin, reduced mechanical strength of tissue culture, reduction in the collenchyma, parenchyma. So hyperhydricity in the plant tissue cultures are those hyperhydricity in the plant tissue culture are those which include those factors that can also triggering the or they can stimulate the oxidative stress. They can also lead to the development of the abiotic stress like salt stress, high humidity, low light intensity, gas accumulation in the atmosphere, means improper supply of oxygen and carbon dioxide, length of time intervals between the subculture. Subculture means transfer of tissue from the old media to the fresh media. Basically, subculturing is done every week. But suppose there is a gap between the subculturing of the transfer of the tissue in the media, new fresh media, it can also inhibit the growth of tissue. So this vitrification is basically, we can say that it is the basically physiological phenomena. So what will happen? It will reduce the growth of lignin, collenchyma, parenchyma, which are the mechanical strength tissue. They can cause lot of abiotic stress like high salt concentration, extremely high humidity, low light intensity, improper supply of oxygen and CO2, length of time intervals between the subculturing. So it is recommended that subculturing should be done every week from the old media to the fresh media so that the explant can be grow very easily. After vitrification, there is when we add the media, when we prepare the media, we are using some salt of ammonium salt also. Sometimes if the quantity of ammonium salt is increased, what will happen? It will create the osmolytic imbalance. This osmolytic imbalance can also contribute to the hyperhydricity. Okay, this osmolyte imbalance can also contribute to the hyperhydricity. So the main reasons which include low calcium content, the reasons basically what will happen? There is a reduction in the calcium content in the medium. This is formation of the gas built up within the container. High concentration of salt, low light intensity are also other. Actually, this vitrification is observed in the culture bottles which are kept in the same container. Okay, means if we are keeping the tissue in the same media, we are not subculturing the media, there is a severe problem of this vitrification, or we can say that severe problem with this hyperhydricity. So whenever we are using the ammonium salt, the concentration should be balanced so that the proper calcium level should be there. Because calcium level, we know that it is the major component for the signal transduction pathway. If there is no calcium level, there is no signal pathway during the germination of plant. Okay, so there should be the high concentration of salt in the culture medium, low light intensity among others. So this vitrification is also observed in the culture bottles which are kept in the same container. Okay, so vitrification is the major problem in the container which we are observed. We have to try to overcome this problem of vitrification. Okay, see, we are seeing that this is the tissue. Okay, and it changes color. The tissue little bit damaged, yellowing of tissue, proper salt imbalance, osmolytes are deposited. Okay, lot of phenolic compounds are deposited. It is approximately in the condition of being dying. Okay, this tissue is in the condition of original being dying. See, it is almost half tissue is there. Fluorosis is there, lot of calcium inactivity is there. This figure denotes the hyperhydricity. So, how we can overcome these problems of vitrification? So, vitrification can be overcome by the problem of regular subculture of the medium. Okay, so the vitrification can be done by the subculture of the medium, and subculturing should be done every week in the fresh medium, like in the 2 week, 4 week, 6 week, 8 week. But when we observe that suppose the growth in the tissue is maximum in the 8th week, we know that there are different phases: lag phase, exponential phase, log phase. Maximum growth is in the exponential phase. So we can say that subculturing is done in the first 2 week, 4 week, 6 week, 8 week. In every 2 weeks, we can observe the subculturing. But once the subculturing is done at the level of 6 week, that time there is a maximum growth of the tissue. After 6 weeks, what happened? The tissue start decreasing or able to die, because after 6 weeks, some phenolic compounds accumulate, reduced germination rate, reduced absorption of the media, reduced media is definitely decreasing. So it is after 6 weeks, we can easily transfer the callus in the normally organogenesis media for proper development. So subculture is very, very important to overcome the problem of vitrification. Then another major problem that is due to certain genetic changes, that problem is called as somoclonal variation. That somoclonal variation occurs due to the change in the phenotypic changes. Okay, that somoclonal variation is caused due to phenotypic changes. It occurs due to change in chromosome number or due to change in genetic heterogeneity. Okay, that phenotypic changes occurs due to somoclonal variation. It occurs due to change in chromosome number. Change in chromosome number means either aneuploidy, haploidy, okay, or nullisomy, monosomy, trisomy, both kind of changes, structural changes as well as numerical changes like inversion, deletion, translocation. Okay, so when there is phenotypic changes, okay, there is a change in the chromosome number. Okay, and they can cause the genetic heterogeneity. Actually, most of the somoclonal variations are not useful. They are actually irrelevant from the tissue culture point of view, because exactly what we want the exact clone of the X plant in the large amount of quantity. That is the main of tissue culture. What we want, suppose we are doing a tissue culture of mango. So what we want to grow about 1,000 plants of mango, exactly the cloning. So tissue culture is exactly what? The cloning of the X plant. If there is a variation, then we cannot observe the required trait. Most of the somoclonal variations are not useful. Okay, most of the somoclonal variations, they are not useful. Okay, so they are actually useless process. And also we cannot, variations are unpredicted and uncontrolled. We cannot determine when they will cause. We cannot determine how we can control. So it is a very uncontrolled phenomena, somoclonal variation, because genetic things are not in our control. It occurs due to mutation, due to various reasons, and they are not stable, they are not heritable. Okay, they are cultivar dependent. Actually, the somoclonal variation also depends upon the plant which we are taking, how it is cultivated in the natural condition. If the true breeder has developed total trait in the X plant, it cannot cause any kind of variation. Because I told you that kind of variation is totally unpredictable and they are uncontrolled. So they are not stable and they are not heritable. Okay, they are not stable and they are not heritable. And it depends on the how the breeder has truly cultivated the crop which we want to grow in the tissue culture. So what I told, chromosome variation occurs due to phenotypic changes. They can cause several changes in the chromosome structurally or numerically, like inversion, deletion, duplication, or numerical changes like tetrasomy, aneuploid, ploidy. Most of the variations are not useful. They are unpredictable. They are uncontrolled. We cannot control them. They are not stable. They are not heritable, and they are cultivar dependent. So this is the major problem of chromosomal variation. Actually, many cell lines cannot exhibit regeneration potential. So, how we can control the problem of chromosomal variation? How we can control the problem of chromosomal variation? Okay, so this chromosomal variation can be avoided by using long-term cultures. So, culture should be rapidly changing into the media. Okay, and they can overcome by the auxiliary shoot induction. Okay, we can directly use the shoot bud and we can directly use the direct culture without the callus formation. Okay, so they can overcome by regularly initiating the clones from new explant. So we can all try to take the auxiliary shoot bud as the culture media because it is free from somoclonal variation. So we should avoid the long-term cultures. We should not use 2,4-D in the nutrient media. If we will use 2,4-D media, 2,4-D is the auxin. So this 2,4-D is the major contribution in the callousing. If we are developing the plant through callus culture, then they can cause the problem of somoclonal variation. So it is recommended not to use the 2,4-D in the media. Okay, many cell lines cannot exhibit regeneration potential. So we can overcome the problem of somoclonal variation by these four methods, like avoid the long-term culture, use auxiliary shoot induction, do not use 2,4-D in the media, and regularly initiating clones from the new explant. Okay, so these are some reference books, like these are some references which we have taken. So homologous recombination during transfer of DNA into mouse cell. So in this lecture finally, so today what we studied, I will conclude our study. Today we studied the major challenges which we found in the tissue culture media. And what are these challenges? I told you these challenges are recalcitrance, which is caused due to free radicals, contamination, which is caused due to use of improper slash conditions. We have to slash all media equipments. Then we discuss about phenolic browning. This phenolic browning can damage the X plant. This phenolic browning can be overcome by the use of vitamin C, citric acid, ascorbic acid at the range of 0.1 to 0.5 variation. Then there is effect of some seasonal variation like excessive humidity, excessive light, improper use of CO2 and carbon dioxide. Then again there is the problem of vitrification, means hyperhydricity. Hyperhydricity means we cannot use the exchange of proper water supply. They are basically physiological problem. What will happen? Improper use of gaseous exchange, improper use of CO2, O2. What they will cause? They will cause abiotic stress like high salt concentration. For them, what we have to do? We have to adjust the salt concentration. High ammonium concentration can reduce the calcium concentration. We have to change the pH. We have to change the sucrose condition. Okay. So, and finally, somoclonal variation. Somoclonal variation is, we told that it caused due to genetic changes. It is not heritable. We cannot control them. It is unpredicted. So for that, what we are using? We are using auxiliary shoot condition. We do not use CO2 media. Why we not CO2 media? Because CO2 media cause callousing if we are germinating the plants. So callousing, they can cause the somoclonal variation. And recalcitrance can be controlled by the use of certain antioxidants. Contamination can be done by the use of mercury chloride, sodium hypochlorite, use of proper ethanol, proper autoclaving of media, proper surface sterilization. Phenolic browning can be controlled by ascorbic acid. Seasonal variation can be controlled by maintaining humidity, maintaining water level, maintaining light intensity, maintaining proper temperature. Vitrification we can control by the limited use of salts, limited use of ammonium, limited use of sucrose, And finally, somoclone variation, that is uncontrollable, unpredictable, do not use true food in the media. Try to use axillary bud as the explant, because in the axillary bud explant there is no proper somoclone variation, and it depends upon the breeder how he cultivated that plant. Because cultivation of plant, during the cultivation, also a lot of changes occur in their chromosome. Okay, and what are the changes in the chromosome? Numerically, like numerically how monoploid, triploid, diploid, nullisomic, tetrasomic, structurally changes, deletion, inversion, translocation. So when there is change in the chromosome, obviously there is change in the DNA. If there is change in the DNA, obviously there is change in the phenotype. Change in the phenotype, there is change in the somoclonal variation. So what we have to do? We have to take care of all these things. Okay, so these are the different problems which we discussed today in the tissue culture based media. So what we will try, uh, I hope this lecture can understand about how we can control this various difficulties in the tissue culture based media. Thank you very much.